When sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. How are you? This is a question that we're all accustomed to hearing and asking. We're also accustomed to having a quick, short answer, regardless of how we really are. When someone asks, "How are you?" we say, "Fine." But if Horatio Spafford were asked this question in 1873, he may have been in too much pain to reply. Or if he did reply, he probably would have said horrible. You see, Horatio Spafford had been a victim of the Chicago fire. He was a successful attorney that also was a businessman and an entrepreneur, as well as an investor in much property within the city of Chicago. The fire destroyed his business, but beyond that, it cost him the life of his 4-year-old son. He was devastated. His business collapsed, and the recovery effort was challenging at best. There was an economic downturn 2 years later in 1873 that also hurt his finances greatly. But Horatio was a man of faith. He had been responsible for much of the faith in the Chicago area, and he also had become acquainted with D.L. Moody, who was a great evangelist who went all around the world spreading the gospel. So acquainted that D.L. Moody had asked Spafford to come and help him with a revival in 1873 in England. And so he had planned his family vacation to head towards England on a boat. But prior to leaving, his wife and his remaining 4 daughters were sent ahead of him because Horatio had to stay back in Chicago to handle some business. There were some zoning issues with some of the redevelopment that was happening after the Chicago fire, and he was there continuing his business. He was delayed. A few days later, there was a telegram that arrived with a few simple words that devastated Horatio. The words from his wife said, "Saved alone." You see, his 4 children, 4 daughters that had remained, succumbed to a boat crash, and the boat sank quickly, and his wife was the only one who got out alive. Horatio traveled as quickly as he could to join his wife in England, and as his ship was going past the exact place where his daughters had died and succumbed to the waves, he was called upon to come up on deck. He reflected about his daughters being so close by, but dead at the bottom of the sea. He went down to his cabin and wrote these words, the words of this song, "It is well with my soul." In our United Methodist hymnal, it's hymn 377. It's become well known and well loved in many denominations because it is so powerful in speaking of how it is that we can reflect on life and how it is that we may answer that question that opened this devotion. How are you? Instead of just saying fine, maybe when we have the peace and the power of God, we can say, "It is well with my soul." In Psalm 46, verses 9 and 10, it says, "He makes wars to cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shield with fire. He says, 'Be still and know that I am God.'" Jesus' disciples were in a boat, not a boat like Horatio's family or even Horatio did to travel across the sea, but they were in a small fishing boat out on the Sea of Galilee. And Jesus was asleep in the bow of the boat. A storm spun up, and the disciples were terrified. They woke Jesus up and asked him for help. They said, "How can you be sleeping in the midst of the storm? How can you be sleeping when everything is at risk?" Jesus got up quickly, and he said, "Be still." I wonder, when I read this passage, was he talking to his friends, to the storm, or to us? I think the answer is yes. He was talking to all of us. Philippians chapter 4, verse 7 says, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. My friends, it is my hope today that as you reflect upon this song, "It is well with my soul," you will know the peace of Christ that will be with you in any storm, any trouble, any trial that might be. And the final verse of this song is filled with the hope of glory that Horatio Spafford and all of us have when we have Christ in our midst. It reveals what kept Horatio Spafford going when life was so unfair, unrelenting, and unpleasant. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul.